Hello, my name is Max, and I am an alcoholic. I'm sober today only by the grace of God and the fellowship of the program, and I am a follower of Jesus. Welcome to Studio RC, an encouragement for your recovery and your faith. Last series, we got rooted as we prepped for our annual Recovery Church Movement Conference. We got rooted not just in ideas, not just in our emotions, but in something deeper, something that holds when life doesn't, when challenges come. And now we've completed our Rooted 2026 conference. The Rooted conference, it wasn't just a moment. It wasn't just an event. It was a turning point. It was hopefully challenging to some, encouraging to all. But here's the question. What happens after that moment, after the event? Because what God starts in a moment, He intends to develop over a lifetime, like planting a seed and letting it grow. So welcome to our new series, Rooted, the Aftermath. This is where we don't just revisit what was said, we wrestle with what it means through conversations with all of our main conference speakers and some additional interviews as well, reflections from the week, and honest dialogue about what it looks like to actually live this out. This is where roots go deeper. The conference may be over, but the work is not. Let's step into what comes next. Rooted, the aftermath, conversations, reflections, and what comes next. Let's check it out for this week's episode. Welcome to Studio RC. We're continuing our series of interviews from the Recovery Church Movement 2026 conference. Our theme is Rooted, and I am sitting. It's so awesome that I get to interact with some new friends, but I also get to interact with some friends that have been long-standing. And today we get to sit with one of my friends long-standing. This is Junior, and why don't you introduce yourself? I know who you are, but maybe the people watching maybe don't know who you are, and kind of what your role is in Recovery Church Movement, and just a little background.
Okay, but can I just say how awesome I think you are, and just how much I've learned from you, and how you are one of the most well-rounded recovery and church pastors. Like, you got such a great balance of both.
I appreciate that.
And that's what I long for one day, is to have the great balance of both. And so that said, my name is Junior.
Flowers. I love the flowers.
Come on. My name is Junior, and I get to be the national coach of Recovery Church Movement, which is awesome. I mean, I love what we get to do. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Get to see just lives transformed, and just people who are just excited about doing God's work nationwide is unbelievable. People ask me if I feel like I'm more recovery or more church. Honestly, I don't know. I came to church through recovery, but then I really kind of got dug into the church, but I also got back into AA and really, I mean, I worked the steps, like I went through the whole process, right? Like for you, I'm always still trying to figure out, like, because you're a pastor, right? But you're also so strong in recovery. I'm always like, I feel like you got a great balance of both. If I was to guess, I would probably say I'm a little bit more church than recovery, but so recovery. I mean, I've worked the steps. I got 12 sponsees. I'm constantly working the steps, constantly taking guys through the steps, still going to AA. Like, I'm so, right? But the Bible, I'm just so deep in, like, so often. And so, yeah. But like I said, the balance for me is what really matters, man. I like to have a good balance of both, a better balance of both.
And we talk about that tension between church and state. We kind of like talk about the recovery and faith. And it's funny, I'll be honest, and conversationally, I've never tried to pigeonhole myself as one or the other. I live fully in both, and I love being in both. And I love both places, which is why I love Recovery Church, because it is the best of both worlds. It's all the best aspects of recovery and 12 steps and the fellowship.
Really is.
And, we have the best of church, and we got these authentic people being raw and real and cussing sometimes and, telling colorful stories that would turn some small groups upside down. And,
Absolutely.
But I love the mix of Recovery Church. And I think it is probably, as you begin Recovery Church, it's probably important to know if you lean one way or the other so that it's not a blind spot. So that you
right. I think it's important because for you, like, I know that you've got like a midnight meeting that you're always at. You're so involved in the meetings in the AA, but also like so church as a pastor, right? And so for me, the way that I kind of was able to tell is I spent more time at leading this small group, leading that small group, preaching on a Sunday, and then I was like, and I got my Friday AA meeting, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I need to get more. And that's how I know, is because I know where I'm challenging myself the most.
Yeah.
So where I'm challenging myself the most is you need to be more in the rooms like you used to be, right? Because I love the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a Friday, right? I mean, it's like, and I love it. Like, it's best anytime I love it, and I'm just like, man, like I love church, I love recovery. I really do love them both. But I ask myself, where do I challenge myself the most? And I don't challenge myself with, you need to do more at church. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already do so much at church. I always challenge myself with, Junior, you need to do more in recovery, right? And so that's kind of what helps me decide, like, where, because anytime we're coaching new locations as well, I can automatically tell as I'm talking to somebody whether they're more church or more recovery.
Yeah.
And as their coach, my goal is to try to help them realize, hey, let's focus more on, like, let's read the 12 and 12 together. Let's read the big book together, right? But then if I have somebody that's like way more recovery and not enough church, I'm like, hey, let's read through Proverbs and John, right? Like, let's get you, as a matter of fact, James. I want to make that connection so you can see that correlation. And so, but that's what I was saying, like for you, like typically because it comes so naturally to me now to be able to see that in people, like with you, I've always been trying to guess, I wonder if he's more church or more recovery. And you just got so much swag, dog. I can't even see past.
You're too much.
Yeah.
Let me ask about, as being a national coach, you travel a lot.
I do.
But you get to, I don't know if you get to see the country because you're in and you're out, but you travel all over the country. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like and some of the best aspects of being able to go to all these different campuses.
Yeah, years ago, I was at an AA meeting in Boca, and somebody said something that always stuck with me. They said that no matter what new city I'm in, because this guy traveled for work, he's like, I feel like a stranger in every city, but then I find an AA meeting, and when I get to that AA meeting, I feel like I'm at home. And I was just like, wow, that's really powerful. So when God had called me to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm a stranger, I know no one. I ended up finding an AA meeting, and all of a sudden I felt right at home. And so what I love about Recovery Church is that every city that I travel to, although it may feel strange at first, I feel like I'm at home because I'm with God's people who love. I mean, like, it's just amazing, right? And then I go to AA meetings with them. Like, I remember when I go to San Jose, we go to like 5 AA meetings a day. You know what I'm saying? Which is great. You get to connect. But I feel at home. But then I started telling my wife the other day, I'm like, I feel like every city starts to look the same after a while. Like, after a while, you don't even know where you are, right? But the cool thing is that I get to invite my wife to go to places that she's always wanted to go. And so anytime I'm like, hey, honey, I'm going to Montana, she's like, I'll go. And I'm like, great, I'm going to South Dakota,
Ranch
right? And San Jose, we got to go check out some places in San Jose. And so what's cool is that my family gets to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so my family, because my kids are homeschool, my wife's like, this is geography class. It counts, right? And so we're just like, so it's like our whole family's involved. And so that's one thing that really mattered to me, being the, national coach and being part of RC, is how do we incorporate family in it, right? Because, it's God, family, ministry. So I had to make sure that my family was on board, and they are. And so that's really kind of the cool part is that, Philly, you and I went and did Philly together and New York, right? And so I think one of the cool things about being able to travel is knowing people like you who knows the lay of the land, right? That tells me how to order a Philly cheesesteak. You know what I'm saying?
Someone's got to teach you.
And so I think that's been one of the coolest things about traveling is learning different things about different cities and seeing like what's cool about that place from the people's perspective?
A lesson I have learned, and you kind of echoed this about going to an AA meeting or a recovery meeting and feeling at home. I tell people, if you want to know the lay of the land on vacation, go to an AA meeting. Like, one, because wherever you're from, it's going to seem exotic for the most part.
Yep.
I mean, maybe not New Jersey to Florida, but like, if I show up at a meeting in Bermuda, which I did, or the Bahamas, and you say, oh, yeah, I'm from, New Jersey, they're like, and they tell you where to eat. They tell you what good.
Yeah.
Oh, don't waste your time there. Like, you don't need AAA. You got AA, and they'll tell you exactly what
AA. I love
what's what's what.
It.
So
no, that's really cool, man. And by the way, going to those AA meetings, when you we go to Norfolk. And they're like, where are you from? Florida. Because they always, anybody here for the first time, like obviously no newcomer, but anybody here for the first, this meeting for the first time, stand up and it's just like, hey, where are you from? Junior, from South Florida. People always ask the question, well, what brings you here? And so I'm just like, we're doing this thing called Recovery Church. And so it's always been also a good plug when we're from out of town, because they ask a question. Like, I'm not going to tell them why I'm here. I'm not going in there saying, hey, guys, by the way, come to Recovery Church. But I'm going to the meeting and I'm letting them know. And they're like, oh, man, that's really cool. And then you get to see the people who are believers. They're like, oh, man, I love that. That's great. And then you see the people who are just like, yeah, thanks for coming.
Good luck with that.
At first, it was just like they wanted to sponsor me. Like, they're like coming in really close. Like, hey, man, like, yeah, dude, you're from, come on, well, let's go out to lunch. And they're like, what are you here for? We're doing this whole big Recovery Church, like church, yeah. Like, oh, man, yeah, so good to meet you, man. Good luck.
That lunch offer off the table.
Yeah, oh, it's gone now. Or they're making you pay this time, right? But no, it's a huge blessing, man. It's a huge blessing.
All right, let's shift gears.
Yeah.
You're the closer tomorrow. You're giving the final talk tomorrow. We have 2 speakers tomorrow. And I know you haven't given it, and I know that God can alter and kind of reshape. But as of now, what's your hope for your message tomorrow and the main themes that you're going to be presenting when you share?
Yeah, my message had kind of been changing a little bit. Right, because when I get here and we get to be with all of our leaders and locations, I like to kind of feel the temperature in the room. Like, what are people wrestling with, right? And Pastor Phil did such an incredible job last night.
He killed it.
In his message,
sure.
He crushed it. And I told him afterwards, I'm like, it seems like a lot of people are walking through something, right? And so. For me, the scripture that's really been on my heart lately was Matthew chapter 8, verse 23, Jesus going into a storm with the disciples. And I know that most people, like when you talk about a storm, they're scary, right? Because people are walking through storms in their marriage, in their finances, at their Recovery Church locations, and all of these different storms. And I realized that a lot of times when we get into a storm, right? Like, so for me, like, I've launched businesses, I've done all these things. And when you hit a storm, a lot of times the question that naturally comes to mind is, am I moving in the right direction? Did I make a mistake, right? It's like you launch the thing and then like nobody shows up. Did I hear God wrong? And I believe this is the time where the enemy actually comes in, and it's just like Adam and Eve in the garden, right? Like he goes to Eve and he says, did God really say? And I think we're the most vulnerable, right? When we hit a storm, and we're moving in a direction that we believe God called us to go, right? Like you decide to get married, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with these storms, and the devil says, did God really say? Like, was it really God or was it you, right? You launch the business or you launch the Recovery Church, and all of a sudden you hit the storms, and all of a sudden the devil says, did God really say? And in that vulnerable moment, sometimes we start to question, did God really say?
Well, and you have the reverse. Sometimes we think God says, God didn't say, which is the opposite sometimes of, and one of the things I have discovered, and I was taught by the person who led me to faith, he said, always pray for God's peace. God's path will always be the peaceful path because it will always have God's peace attached to it. So when I'm praying, even when I'm in anguish or have decisions, when I find peace, I know I found God's will.
Amen.
And
Amen.
and I think but that questioning of, how many times have we aborted ministries prematurely, or
That's the question.
and we haven't allowed it
Right.
to grow and to be all that God wanted it, out of fear, out of what we thought wasn't growth or slow growth or small beginnings, and questioning whether it was a God, thus saith the Lord kind of moment, and that is where, when we have our assurance,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get assurance in everything, but sometimes when we have the peace of God in regards to a topic, that assurance allows us to weather the storms. Because when you have the peace of God, you brought up storms. Jesus is sleeping in the boat. The
And that's
disciples
peace.
are freaking out. Like, what? And he's like, why are you afraid?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm right here.
What's going
And they're
on?
like, did you forget us? I'm like, "No," like, I'm literally right here.
Right.
When we go into the storms, we think Jesus is asleep at the wheel. Well, hello, we got a storm.
Right.
And
that's the thing about storms, is a lot of times they distract. Storms can distract. And that's the thing. It's like, I had peace when I said yes. Right? Like, I prayed about it, and God, I had peace. But then when the storm came, all of a sudden, you're so focused on the winds and the waves that
What are
you're
you,
no
Peter?
longer looking at Jesus.
you're like,
You know what
but
I'm
Peter,
saying? It's just
in
like,
fairness to
yeah.
Peter, he lost contact with Jesus and he starts to drown.
Yeah.
But Peter's the only one who's walked on water other than Jesus that we're aware of.
Amen.
So he got
Amen.
out of the boat, but he lost focus.
Amen.
He's like, wind and waves.
Yeah.
And Jesus like, come on.
But I love that, though, because that's a great picture and a great reminder of when Jesus catches him. He asks him a question. I believe he asks so many of us when we face storms. Why did you doubt? Like, why did you doubt? There's so many people, as you say, that leave ministry prematurely. They leave marriages prematurely. Now, just so I have to clarify, I'm not saying if you're in an abusive marriage or bad, you need to say, like, I feel like I need to make that clarification.
Yeah.
It could be understood, but a lot of us sometimes, like, will leave a business prematurely. We'll leave something prematurely because we get discouraged. We get discomfort, discouraged, right? Or we just start to, I used to tell people all the time early on, the enemy can't take away your purpose, he can't take away your destiny, but if he can discourage you enough, you'll give it to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at the end of the day, he doesn't need to take it. Like, if he can discourage us enough, it's kind of like one of my sponsees right now who's in relapse, right? It's just like you get to this place where you're just like, oh, you know what, screw it. And then you just go back and you just let go, right? And I'm like pleading with him right now, like, come on, man, like, come on, let's just get back in, right? But what happens is when we can get discouraged enough or listen, the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion looking for people to devour, right? And what I believe he does, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Well, he never killed me, I'm alive. Yeah. But how does he really steal, kill, and destroy? By the lies, by making us believe, right? Or by trying to get us to buy the lie and to believe his foolishness, to believe that God is no longer with us, to believe that God will leave us or forsake us, to believe that not all things work together for the good. Some things do. This one's not going to work for your good, so abort mission, right? And so for me, one thing that I've learned in life, man, is once I've prayed about it, I had peace about it, I just keep moving forward. And I tell my business partner all the time, like, we're going to ride this till the wheels fall off. Yeah. What does that mean? That means that I'm not turning back. If I believe that God called me to it, then the enemy's going to try to distract me. And I'm telling you right now, man, every time I just continue to focus on Jesus and just continue to believe, faith is the evidence, is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Problem is, after a while, when you don't see it, what happens? You get discouraged. Galatians 6:9, don't get weary of doing what is good. When do we get weary of doing what's good? Because if I'm doing something good and good is coming out, I don't get weary of it. If I'm doing good and good is coming, I'm like, let's keep doing this. Yeah. But when you're doing good and you're still being treated bad and you're still dealing with the stress and you're still dealing with after a while, you just get tired. You're like, I'm tired of giving and like nobody receiving it well. And I'm just going to stop, right? Like one of my greatest fears was, because back in the day it was like, I'm trying to be good. And because I'm not good at being good, and I try to be good, and I suck at being good, but I'm great at being bad, and if people are going to see me as the bad guy anyways, why not just become him? Why work
You're
so
the
hard to
drunk.
be
You're
good?
the
You know what I'm
drunk
saying?
addict. Yeah, just live
If
it
you're going to
out.
see me like that anyways, I
It doesn't
might as
matter
well
what I
go
do, how
back.
hard I try.
Right.
Yeah.
And so don't get weird of doing what was good, because at the right time. And so I guess part of the reason why I wanted to preach this message is because so many people right now are walking through a storm with their kids, in their marriage, in their recovery church, in their business, and they're really thinking about going back to Egypt. And that's what I love. That's why I love the Word, right? As I said, I'm like, man, when it came to the Word, I'm in the big book, I'm in the 12 and 12, but the Word, when I'm listening to these stories and I'm hearing these Israelites that want to go back into slavery, I'm like, what's wrong with you? And God is like, what's wrong with you? How often do you want to go back? I remember I told a homeboy of mine one time, I was like, man, on those lonely nights, right? I was just like, I think I'm going to go back out with that one girl that I dated because it's lonely out here. It's like, do you remember she tried to kill you? I mean, yeah, she did, but I probably deserve. How crazy is that? Like you go back and all you think about is the good times, and you forget. Wait a minute. Well, you're Egypt, really? You were slaves there. You were praying out of there. God gets you out of there, and because you don't know what's ahead, and you're afraid, all of a sudden it's more comfortable to go back to something that's uncomfortable that I know, than to move forward into what could be better, but is unknown.
And from a Christian perspective or New Testament perspective, I think a lot of people are like, silly Israelites, when they're like, I think it's you too. Like this is
Same
we're
thing.
Like, who would have ever turned back in the desert? I wouldn't have spent 40 years. I mean, 40 days we would have gotten
11
through that.
days, we would have been good. And think about it. Even when you think about Joshua and Caleb, right? You think about Joshua and Caleb in the 12 spies. It's so easy for me to say, I would be Joshua and Caleb. But it's like, but when you see the giants,
they're big.
right?
They're big.
You see the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, after a while, it's like, man, you've been wanting to write the book, but you're like, but what will they think? Right? You've been wanting to start the business, but what if I fail? You've been wanting to sponsor, but the last guy you sponsored relapsed. And you're still taking that personally, or you're still holding on to it, and now you're afraid, right? You see the obstacles, and God is saying, but go into the promise. Yeah. And sometimes we're so focused on the giants, just like Peter was focused on the winds and the waves, and it's all about focus.
Yeah.
Right? And so for me, it's always like, guys, there are storms and there are giants. But if we focus on the storms and the giants, then it'll actually keep us from experiencing sometimes the thing that God actually has for us. But if we can stay focused on Jesus and acknowledge, listen, it's like Joshua and Caleb were like, there are no giants. Where, we're not going to pretend, you know what I'm saying? If you have a garden and there's weeds,
there is milk
and
there's honey. I might have to run through the giant's legs to get to it, but
it's there.
And it's
right?
our land. That is our land.
And I love how God starts off, before Moses sends in the 12 spies, God literally starts off, he says, go send 12 spies into the land that I am giving you. God literally said, I am giving you. As a matter of fact, another gospel, not Matthew chapter 8, but one of the other gospels, when Jesus tells the disciples, let's go to the other side, he actually says, let's go to Gennesaret. So Jesus literally said, guys, we're going to this place. And so if Jesus says, this is where we're going, you can't die in the sea. Come on now. Listen, I travel a lot. And somebody told me the other day, they're like, do you ever get nervous on an airplane? When you're flying, because sometimes you get turbulence, do you get nervous? And I've had a few moments where I did, but then God gave me this thing, and I don't know where it really came from, but it actually helps me every time I'm on an airplane. I just think about, Paul landing on Malta, needing to go stand before Caesar. And it's like, well, Paul can't actually die here, right? He was going to stand before Caesar. I forget. I get lost. Yeah. But it's like, Paul can't die here. Why? Because he needs to stand before Caesar. Yeah. And so for me, anytime I feel like, oh, this could be the end for me, right? I always tell myself, you have to make it to Rome. And for some reason in my heart, I'm not at Rome yet. I haven't accomplished what I believe God has actually created me to accomplish. And so anytime I'm on a plane, I'm always telling myself, I can't die here. As a matter of fact, don't worry, guys, you're safe.
We're taking Junior's coattails and we're riding that one out.
Just like Paul says, listen, the boat's going under. The boat's going under, but nobody's going to lose their lives. And that's exactly what happened on Malta, right?
Yeah.
Like the boat went down, but nobody lost their lives. Why? Because he had to make it to Rome. And for some strange reason, anytime I'm on a plane, and anytime I'm traveling, if I get a little bit nervous, I always tell myself, you haven't made it to Rome. Now, one day I'm going to make it to Rome, okay? But until then, I don't need to be afraid of anything because I have to make it to Rome.
And I have found on a much lesser level, because I don't travel to the extent that you do by any means. But when I'm on a journey for God, like we talk about that hedge of protection. Sometimes it feels very churchy when people say that, but like when I'm doing something for God, I feel pretty protected. Like I feel like if I'm on an errand for God, I'm in the right place, and so that's yeah. What were you?
Yeah,
we could.
you and I do, but we can spend a few hours doing this. But that's the thing. It's just like anytime we're on an errand for God or doing God's work, the enemy still whispers. And most days I'm able to like just, like just brush it off. But then there are those moments where the voice, right? Because I was telling my small group the other day, I said, if God sounded like Morgan Freeman, right, that deep, beautiful voice, and the devil sounded like Chris Tucker, and Junior sounded like Junior, life would be easy. Because it'd be really easy to be like, oh, God said it. Chris Tucker, stop talking. Ain't nobody got time for you, right? And then
everybody
Junior,
hates Chris.
Everybody, exactly. All right? And Chris Tucker, if you're listening to this, man, I love you though.
Come to Recovery Church.
Recovery
We'd love
Church,
to have
hang
you.
with us. Come on, man. No, but the reality is just that like because we don't know, and God's voice and the enemy's voice and my voice all sound the same. And so a lot of times the way that the enemy gets me to question, did God really say, is because they all sound like me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for me, like that's why I want to help, people, because I know that a lot of folks are constantly questioning their decisions. And I think one of the greatest ways that the enemy can rob you of joy is to get you to question everything that you do. If you wouldn't put your kids in homeschool, or if you wouldn't have done that, or if you wouldn't have done this. And so we live in shame and regret. And I realize that remorse triggers relapse. Right? Like remorse, when you're feeling that deep remorse and you just regret, like, because alcohol wasn't my problem, it was my answer.
Yeah.
And so when I feel that deep remorse and I'm like, man, I wish I would have never done that. I'm so awful. Then what happens is then it triggers because now I'm looking for an answer. And alcohol is my answer. And if I don't find something to help soothe that, then all of a sudden it's so easy to go back. And so that's why now Jesus is my answer, right? And so I just dive into the word. But yeah.
We could talk, obviously, even a lot longer. I'm going to kind of bring us down,
Yes.
kind of land the plane here. If people want to get in contact with you or want to reach out to you, how's the best way? With Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah.
How do they go to the recovery.church website?
It's Max at Recovery Church. That's I always give away. No, it's Junior at recovery.church.
And I am Max at recovery.church as well.
But you see how I said at recovery church. Just again, I want you to say your email. I'm not going to throw it up. Yeah, but it's Junior at recovery.church if people want to get a hold of me. And it's helpful because I have somebody that helps me with my emails. Because over the past few years, like one of the greatest things we get to do is be part of all these incredible launches. One of the hardest things that come with it is I tell my wife, with every new location, I'm connected to more people. And I love people and I want to be connected to them all. But there was a time where now I'm getting like 300-400 text messages and I'm like trying to respond to them all. I'm like, hey man, love you. Hey, pray for you. Yeah. And then it just got to this place where so now I'm like, I got to get people connected to my email more, because then Darlene helps me with my email.
Nice.
And it's super helpful because at least if I get distracted or overwhelmed, whatever the case may be, Darlene's like, hey, do you want me to respond to this for you? Hey, like this person's really needing this. Because you and I know in recovery, there's always needs, there's always something going on. And my heart is I want to help meet those needs because I know what it's like to be depressed. I know what it's like to be anxious. I know what it's like to be suicidal. I know what it's like to be addicted. I don't want anybody to live there.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part, is that my heart always writes checks that my capacity can't cash.
Yeah.
Because in the moment, like I'm there and I'm like, man, I so want to help. And so I'm all in. And then like when like 30 or 40, 50 requests come in, it's like, okay, like we're going to respond to all of these, but it may take me a while. And so junior@recovery.church. And if I don't get back to you right away, just know I will always answer. That's one thing that I really, really try to do is I don't leave anything unanswered. It might take me a week, maybe a little longer, but I will always answer.
All right, last thing. I can't believe I have not given you a cross at some point. I know. So one of the things we've been doing to all the people who've come in for an interview is they get a cross, and these are special crosses. So pick one out for yourself, whichever one is calling your name.
This one is the darkest one.
What?
Well, I'm saying like I like to wear black. Where did you go with that?
I don't know. This guy. Those are special crosses from the Bethlehem Bible College. And
that's awesome.
They're from Israel, and they're olive wood from Israel and Bethlehem. So
that's awesome.
And then I end with a not just Sunday question. This is like a game for or questions for small groups. And so, one fish or two fish?
Two fish.
Two fish. All right. I don't know what the question is, so we'll see what it is.
I chose two just so we can give one away.
This is a good one. What role does hope play in your life right now?
Oh my goodness. Hope plays a huge role in my life. As a matter of fact, man, I walk by faith and not by sight, and faith is the substance of things hoped for. And so my whole life, man, is just all about hope. Like I really believe God's promises. I really believe God. I believe the 9th step promises, right? And so for me, I'm always living in that. Like it doesn't matter what my situation looks like today, because I'm always living in that hope and believing that God is so much bigger than my storm. And so I love hope, man. It's been
Be a hope dealer, baby.
Come on, somebody. Come on.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been another episode of Studio RC, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. My man.
And that's the episode for this week. But that's what isn't where it ends, because what was planted at Rooted is still growing. The real question isn't what did we hear, but the real question is what are we going to do about it and do with it? So take a moment, reflect on what stood out, hold on to what challenged you, and take one step, just one, toward living it out. This has been Rooted, the aftermath, where the moment may have passed, but the work is still ongoing. Stay rooted, keep growing, and we'll see you next time here at Studio RC. We encourage you to like, to share, to subscribe, help others find this encouragement for their recovery and their faith. This is Studio RC, an encouragement for your recovery and your faith. Remember, 12 steps, one goal. We'll see you next time.